The first month of autumn is likely to rush in with much of the east feeling like fall as the west hangs on to summer while the deep tropics remain in hibernation for a time. But will it end that way? Well, we're going to take a look at some of the evidence and see if we can make sense of what the month of September is likely to hold in today's video. But we're going to start right here in the tropics with our tropical update. Welcome into the channel, everyone. Jason is my name. I'm so glad that you are here with me. Thank you for joining me today on this Saturday, August the 23rd. It is New Moon Day, and we're going to spend just a couple of minutes looking at the tropics because there's really not all that much going on or expected to go on. And then we're going to take a look at today's weather IQ question, test your weather IQ, see how it holds up. Then we're going to look at the month of September and really spend the majority of the video doing that, wrap up with the weekend forecast quickly and get you on out of here. But that's what's going on for the agenda today. As a matter of fact, the National Hurricane Center now has this area out here in the middle of the Atlantic that we've been watching for several days, this wave that's been cruising across the Atlantic. Well, now it's set up right out here, southeast of Bermuda, and it now has a 100% chance of development. Will it take a name? Will it take the name Fernand? I don't know, but going to develop into a tropical depression and possibly a low to medium end tropical storm. We could get it to hurricane status, but the only thing it would possibly affect is Bermuda. There you are, Bermuda. You're right within the edge of the cone. You can handle storms like this. This won't be a major hurricane by any stretch, and there it will go on off into the Atlantic, assuming it does develop. What's missing from this map? Hurricane Aaron. It's no longer a hurricane. It's now an extra tropical low pressure system, still very, very strong, but it's no longer designated as a tropical cyclone. And then down here in the central Atlantic, been watching this wave. It's had higher and lower and higher and lower chances of development throughout the past several days as it's moved westward across the Atlantic. It looked better a couple of days ago, but here it is, 20% chance of development. Eventually, it's going to move into the lower islands down here, St. Lucia, Grenadine, Grenada, however you want to say that. It moves on in toward the Caribbean, and eventually will encounter a more hostile environment and will not really, most of the models really don't do very much with it at all. Outside of that, not a lot going on. In terms of the GFS, what is the GFS showing? I always like to look at the operational models just to get a sense of what they're showing, see how they compare with one another. There's the first depression, or it's not really a depression yet, but it soon will be. There's that low right here, and the other little wave down here, not looking all that impressive on the GFS. So we roll this on out. It does develop it. Remember the other day it was 997 or something, 977. Well, it's kind of caved into the euro as it usually does. The GFS is Captain Caveman, and it always caves, almost always caves. To other modeling, and typically the euro, it's a better performing model, but you can see that right on just east of Bermuda and then move on out into the Atlantic. And a couple of things. Let's roll this back real quick. This little area of interest here off the North Carolina coast is an area of my interest, but really not going to do anything other than provide some coastal rain down here. But this is what's sitting over the southeast. There's a frontal zone that's parked out here. It's been stalled here for a long time. Got a little area of low pressure. That's going to scoot on up and provide some rain into Nova Scotia, up in Newfoundland, where you guys need it really badly. And there goes that wave into the lower islands and moving on in, bringing some showers there, possibly showers to southern DR and Haiti as we go on out in time. But eventually we just see little areas of low pressure maybe form once in a while off the southeast coast, scoot on up to the northeast, but nothing else really all that impressive going on out here in the tropics. It takes a little off of a frontal boundary here, creates another little low pressure system, but the flow is generally not favorable for landfalling in the United States. Eventually it maybe spins something up here in the southern Gulf, and there it goes. Lots of rainfall throughout the next 2 weeks can be expected into the islands, DR, Cuba, places like that. Even Florida is going to see some beneficial rains. There goes another little system. It migrates up into Nova Scotia and on and on and on. So no threats on the GFS to the United States over the next 2 weeks. What about the European model? Well, there it comes here, getting close to Bermuda. It's going to pass east, though, with this low. Not very strong at all. Looks like a depression to me. Very weak low pressure. Nothing else really except some showery weather in through the islands into the Caribbean from time to time as these waves make it in, scrape the coast of, coming in really, really low. Look at these waves coming off of Africa, coming in really, really low, getting into Venezuela and down into Central America. And there it hangs a frontal boundary up, and you see a low pressure develop off the coast. This is next Tuesday, a week from this coming Tuesday, and so this is over 10 days out now. So just know that as we go on out in time, the home cooking area of the Atlantic is where we're going to find any development if it happens in the next couple of weeks, as it looks most likely at this point in time. And then they scoot on off. Here comes another front end. So that's what the European operational is showing. We could look at the ensembles. They pretty much agree. So I'm not going to waste your time with it. But here's the pattern from the EPS as we go on out in time. This is 30 hours out. So we get into early next week. Big blob along the East Coast. That is a blocker. Nothing's going to come in and come in the front doors. I've been telling you all week long, as we get this big trough in place, you can kiss any chance of anything coming in from the Atlantic and striking the U.S. goodbye, as long as that big blue area is sitting there. But over time, look what happens. On the EPS here, it starts to diminish, but this is a long way out. We're looking at cool weather, by the way, in the East Coast. I did a video yesterday. It kind of outlines this pretty well, so you can go back and watch that. We won't spend a lot of time on that, but cool weather over the next 10 days up and down the East Coast, maybe even northern Florida. But look what happens as we get well on a time. We're seeing this ridge build back in from the Atlantic. That could support something coming in if something is developing out here in the MDR coming in this way. So we're going to watch that pattern. That's an ominous looking pattern, but that's your tropical update. Plenty of time to watch that. Nothing expected over the next several 10 days to maybe 2 weeks, and then we start to see a more favorable tropical environment. That's what's going on out in the tropics. Now we're going to take a look at September and see what it might have in store. But first, we're going to test your weather IQ. All right, got your weather IQ question coming right up. But as always, if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and turn those notifications on by clicking the bell icon. It's real easy to do. It's right down below. It doesn't cost anything, and it helps out a lot in terms of pushing the channel out. Leave a like and drop a comment. If there's anything I can pray about, please put it in the comment section. I'm happy to do that. Pray over you guys every single day anyway. And if there's something that you have a question about, I'll read all the comments and I will respond to them. Put that in there and we'll do it. But right now, we're going to jump into the IQ question. Thank you to all the folks who have subscribed to the channel recently. We've had a lot of growth and really appreciate the support and the kindness. But here's your question, okay? What year saw the most named storms, talking about tropical season, hurricane season, not winter storms, how we name those now, but keep in mind we're talking about the hurricane season. What year saw the most named storms in U.S. history? 2005, 2020, 1933, or 2021? And three of those years are quasi-modern, at least. One's kind of old school, so something to think about. Now, if you know the answer, type it in the comment section. Just guess it. You may get it right. And if you don't know it, wait till the end of the show, and I'll let you know what it is. But right now, I'm going to look at the first month of autumn and see what it may have in store. If this map doesn't make you feel like fall, I don't know what does. We're starting to get into that time of year where you can ride around and see those pumpkins getting bigger and bigger in the pumpkin patch, and Lowe's, Home Depot, some of your big stores are starting to put out their fall and Halloween decorations. And of course, your favorite pumpkin spice drinks are showing up at your favorite coffee shops, folks. So we're getting there. We're getting close. And September portends the first portion of the fall season. And with that, I thought it would be appropriate to look at your high or your average daily temperature map. This is combining high and lows as we go through the month of September. And keep in mind that averages drop as we get deeper into fall, of course, as you know that. So these will go down through the month. But generally across the northern tier, average temperatures in the 50s, 60s in the midsection of the country through the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic, and then across the south, temperatures in the 70s as we go through the month, and then averages are in the 80s in the desert Southwest, South Texas, and South Florida. So there you have it, folks. Here is the National or the Climate Prediction Center's monthly outlook for September. They just issued this a couple of days ago, and you can see the biggest signal for above normal temperatures is from the northwest down to West Texas, including the Four Corners region, Front Range of the Rockies, and then up here in the northeast as well, and above normal in Florida. Above normal for much of Hawaii, Alaska as well. Hawaii is not on this map. As you look at the official precipitation outlook, above in the Pacific Northwest and above down here in the southeast. Why is that? Well, they're expecting kind of a ridge out here in the west probably, and a trough encompassing portion of the east, at least in the southeast. Some of the guidance is showing something similar to that, at least for the first part of September. Here is the CFS. This is a climate model, the American climate model. It runs 4 times a day, so kind of bounces around a lot. But what you do when you look at these models like this is you take a look at, I'm going to get rid of that, you take a look at the trend GIF, particularly as we get on in toward the month. This is the last 8 runs, and you can see cool across the south. It had that anyway, and it's sort of diminishing that and opens up a little corridor of cool as we get into the, up here toward the Rockies and some of the, central plains as well. Warm in the southwest and warm in the northeast. And so some of that correlates pretty well with the CPC prediction. But we're going to watch this as we get on in through the month and see how this trends. But it looks like it's maybe warming up a little bit for the south and cooling off as we get on in toward the end of the month. So that's one piece of evidence. If we take a look at the precipitation signal, well, it's got a pretty good precipitation signal up here in the northeast, okay, for the month of September. Look at that. And across the northern tier, not so much for the southeast. A lot of precipitation anomalies out here off the coast and into the Gulf too. That could portend tropical activity. We'll see. But let's go back and look at this. So not much of a signal for the northeast, but the CFS has more kind of a wet signal up here. So maybe you guys need the rain, so maybe that's a good sign all in all. The European, let's take a look at the European model real quick. Get on a better display here. Let's go to this one. This is the European weekly extended version of the European model. Essentially, it goes way out in time. This is what we're looking at for the month of September too. So it's showing warm temperatures, warmer than normal across the northern tier, kind of average out here where the CPC had it above average, and then down here in the southeast where it looked like it might be kind of a little bit above average. Well, it's got a kind of a mixed signal here. Florida looks below. So northeast still warm up there. And then precipitation wise, very dry along much of the east coast, exception of Florida. And then through the central plains from the Great Lakes back to West Texas, it's looking wet. So we've got several mixed signals coming in for the month of September. It's going to be a hard month to figure out. Dry out here in the Four Corners. That's one thing that's in kind of virtual agreement across the board there, unfortunately. Here's your MJO. And the MJO is an area of tropical convection. Talk about this from time to time out in the Indian Ocean, over the continent, out in the Pacific, and depending on where it goes, it's labeled to be in different phases. And if we take a look here at the European monthlies, looks like it's in phase 2 now, but it's going to, or in phase 3 rather, it's going to stay in phase 3, kind of go back into here, very weak pulse, no signal, kind of meander around, maybe emerge back in phase 2 again. That has implications in the tropical Atlantic because phase 2, phase 3, you have better conditions for tropical formation. So as we get on out in the next couple of weeks, we could start to see the Atlantic come back to life in terms of tropical formation. But here is looking at August, September, and October when you get into these different phases of the MJO. What does that mean? Well, phase 3 is kind of chilly along the East Coast, and we're certainly going to see that over the next week or two, warm out west, and then back into phase 2. If it goes there again, we're going to remain chilly and unsettled potentially out here in the east and warm out west as well. So if the European model is true, then we could see chilly weather relative to normal continue for parts of the east, and the west remain hot. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen just because the European says it is, and the MJO pulse and its effects they don't live in isolation. So you got to keep that in mind. So a couple other things here I wanted to kind of point out real quick while we're on it. So here we go. Look at this. So this is La Nina watch. We're now on an official La Nina watch. La Nina, if you're not familiar with it, is you get off the coast of South America out into the Pacific Ocean. The waters down here can warm up relative to normal, or cool down relative to normal, or be relative to normal, just normal. And if they're cooler relative to normal, then you have a La Nina conditions. If you have warmer temperatures off the coast of South America out into the Pacific, El Nino, you've heard those terms before. Well, we're on a La Nina watch, meaning those waters are expected to cool off. So we have about a 50-60% chance of getting into a La Nina, kind of a weak, brief La Nina as we get on in toward the fall months, maybe carrying over into early winter. You can see those probabilities here. El Nino is very, very low in the red. La Nina is in the blue. And then here are the different models in terms of what they predict the ocean temperatures out there to be. Most of them are below this zero line here, this pink. Here, I'll draw it for you so you can see it. This line is average, and most of these models dip it below average. There's a lot of subsurface cool water out there right now, so if that wells up at the top, we're certainly going to see this play out. That could put us in the La Nina conditions as we move into the fall and winter. And here's what those conditions typically look like. So we could, while we may start off a little bit different and warmer up here in the northwest, over time that could lead to a fall and potentially winter of cooler up here, wetter across the midsection of the country, Ohio Valley, warmer and drier in the southeast. And we've had a lot of La Nina winters lately, and they've been not very friendly from a snow standpoint. However, last winter was La Nina, and it was I believe, and it was colder than normal. So La Nina is not the only thing that matters either. But I wanted to show it to you because that's potentially what's coming. Here's the hurricane season peak. We peak right here at September the 10th. We have a secondary peak mid-October, and that's what we're looking at for both hurricanes and tropical storms. And so keep that in mind. So we haven't even got to the peak yet, but we may start to see an increase in tropical activity as we get back up to the peak. So next couple of weeks, what are we looking at here? This is the European ensemble. And look what it does. 850 temperatures. Here they come. Boom. Purple's coming in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just shoving the warm anomalies all the way, getting cooler than normal down here to the Gulf Coast and the Florida Panhandle, northern parts of Florida. And that will just persist and persist and persist and persist and persist as we go on out into the first full week of September. And then things start to back off a little bit, and maybe we start to reverse course. So we're going to watch the pattern as it plays out. Some indications are that we're going to start to maybe reverse that, get into a better pattern along the East Coast for landfalling hurricanes as well as we go out in time. And here are the precipitation anomalies over the next 2 weeks. And as you can see, we're going to be in a drier than normal conditions up and down the East Coast as that front moves through and knocks everything offshore and bring in drier air aloft as well. That's going to feel great, and it's going to eliminate precipitation for the most part up and down the East Coast. Florida, you need it up here. Nova Scotia and in the Northeast, you need it, but bring some rain back out here into these portions of the midsection of the country anyway, and average everywhere else. So that's what's going on with the month of September. Overall, it's a very difficult month to figure out. There's mixed signals, but there are kind of probably on balance more signs than not that we'll start to see summer return in the east, maybe a cool down in the west as we go throughout the month. Precipitation kind of give or take. So that's what we're looking at there. Now let's take a look at the rest of what's going on over the next week, next couple days through the weekend, and then we'll get you out of here. All right, here's your satellite picture. Look at this. Much of the southeast continues to battle cloud covers, kind of breaking up here in parts of Tennessee and eastern North Carolina. You're looking good except for these high clouds, but boy, we're socked in down here in the southeast. Saw a lot of flooding around Charleston area yesterday. A lot of rain. Look at all this lightning offshore here. As this frontal zone lingers, we could see some home cooking activity from a tropical disturbance. We're going to probably see an area of low pressure develop out here anyway and zoom on off. It's not going to bring tropical storm conditions to anyone, but certainly could see that. But a lot of cloud cover down here. Going to see some rain and showers. Here comes the front, folks. We got leading edge of some of that cooler air working into the north and frontal zone back all the way back to the Four Corners into the Great Lakes. So we're seeing clouds out of that. Looking at the actual fronts and where they are on the surface map, there's that little area of low pressure bringing heavy rain threat again to the southeast. Stalled boundary here. Got another boundary out here up and down the Appalachians. Going to see that be the focus of some scattered showers later today. Frontal zone coming in, bringing some of that cooler air, and of course stretching back in here into the Four Corners region. Got the monsoonal flow being enhanced and seeing more precipitation there. Tomorrow, that's going to stay the same out here, but here comes that front. Out ahead of that, going to see some showers and thunderstorms in terms of waking up, heading out to church. If you're doing that, you're going to encounter some showers and mostly showers, New England all the way down to the Gulf Coast states. And there's that frontal zone. It's kind of quasi-stationary, but it's getting pushed out to sea. There's your flood watches up for today. Still some coastal flood advisories up here in the mid-Atlantic. And boy, extreme heat warnings out here in the desert southwest for the next day or so. We're going to see temperatures in the 110s up into the northwest. These are extending through the whole entire week of next week. Core of the Ridge is going to be up here. You guys are going to be cooking up there, so take it easy over the next this afternoon into tomorrow. Some rain here in Kansas, of course in the southeast as well. And we'll see that frontal zone kind of come to life this afternoon and evening. There you go, from New York all the way back down through middle Tennessee. More showers with that low pressure down here. And there's your monsoonal flow really picking up steam in out here in the Four Corners region. Could see a severe threat with some hail, some large or some damaging winds in this area too as we go on through the day. And I'm not on a good source to show you. There we go. And we'll get on down here into nighttime hours. Things will diminish a little bit. There goes that low pressure up the coast, Outer Banks. You guys are going to see some rain tomorrow. You wake up and going to see rain up and down, particularly the interior mid-Atlantic and New England sections, and then moving through the Great Lakes. Few showers here in the central portion of the country. Things will light back up out west tomorrow. And again, could be a soggy afternoon up and down the interior sections of the southeast and mid-Atlantic and down here to the Gulf Coast into Florida as well, with showers and thunderstorms developing and knocking back as we go on out through the night, except down here into the south central plains where you could see that weather push through those states overnight. Taking a look here at the temperature map over the next couple of days. There come the 60s. Here comes fall, folks. It's coming in. It's going to blast through here over the course of the next couple of days. 80s up and down the East Coast where it's cloudy and potentially showery as well. Lower and mid 90s here in the southern plains into Florida. Muggy and hot out west. 80s, 90s, and hundreds out here. Mostly 90s and hundreds today and tomorrow. Getting hotter in the northwest, hot in the desert southwest. Highs in the 50s coming down here into the Midwest and the Great Lakes. It's coming down the stretch. It's going to feel really, really good. 70s across the northern tier as well, and then back into the 80s and 90s. And then as we get on out into Monday, it's advancing. Here it comes. Fall is coming to the southeast, and it's coming in a hurry. Early next week, it's going to feel great. That's your forecast for today. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, folks. We've got to get you in here and answer the last daily IQ question. I'm going to do that right now, though. I'll give you the answer to that question, all right? Can't get you out of here until I do that. Don't want to leave you hanging. What year saw the most named storms in U.S. history? Here it is. 2020 saw the most storms, 30 to be exact. Remember that year? That was very, very active. 2005 was the previously most active year at 28 storms. And 2021 saw 21 named storms. 1933 came in fourth at 30. There you have it, folks. And also today in history, the execution of Sir William Wallace took place in 1305. Remember that movie Braveheart? Mel Gibson starred in that. It was way back in the day. Scottish knight and national hero William Wallace, who led the Scots in a fight for independence, was captured and executed for treason in London on August 23rd, 1305. That is a long, long time ago. Anyway, that's it for the day, folks. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Probably be late in the day before I can get to a video tomorrow, if I can do it at all. But anyway, I hope you have a great Saturday and Sunday. We'll definitely be back on Monday morning with a full episode of Cold Rain's Weather World. Take care. See you later.